Hello.
Hi everyone. Hello, all of you. Um, Thanks a lot for tuning in, everyone. We will just get started in the next couple of minutes. And if you have any friends of yours, you know that are also very keen on applying to Samagra and are not here yet, just quickly ping them. We'll get started in the say next 30 seconds or so. And quick house rules, everyone. Please ensure that you're on mute for the duration of the call when you're not speaking. We would love to hear from you once the Q&A is underway and Ask Me Anything is underway. And then you can unmute yourself. And second house rule, would love to see a lot of faces here on the screen. Does not look good at all from our point of view to talk to blank screens, right? So it would be lovely to see all of you switch on your videos and we can get started. It doesn't matter what your background is, it's completely fine. That's completely okay. All right, great. Thanks a lot, everyone. Thanks a lot, everyone, for taking time out today. In on this Monday evening. We have bunch of people from Samagra. There are five of us who are on the call currently, and yes, folks, you can keep yourself on mute. That would be wonderful. Great. Awesome. Great. So let me introduce myself. I am Venkatesh Chaturvedi. I am currently leading recruitments at Samagra. I am a senior consultant who takes care of multiple initiatives, recruitment being one of them. I'm a graduate from IIT Patna, did my MBA from ISB, and have been with Samagra for the last 2 years now. I'll hand it over to my colleague Pooja for a quick introduction.
Hi, good evening, everyone. It's so good to see so many people here. So I'm Pooja. I have been working with Samagra for over an year now, and I've been, working as a senior process associate, and my main work stream involves recruitment. So now I'll pass it on to Anay for his intro.
Yeah, hi, good evening, everyone. Again, very nice to see a lot of faces here. So I'm Anay. I'm a senior consultant at Samagra. I've been with Samagra for the last 2.5 years. Before that, I was working with Reliance Industries Limited in their corporate headquarters. I'm an engineer by background, then did my MBA from FMS Delhi. And again, as I said, have been with Samagra for the last 2.5 years. Currently, I'm leading our work in the agriculture and livestock space with the government of Odisha. So have been working with the Odisha government, especially the agriculture and livestock departments for the past 2 years. I'll again connect back and jump back in during the course of the presentation. But for now, I'll hand it over to Shifali.
Thanks, Ane. Good evening, everyone. Really nice to see you all. So my name is Shifali Thakur. I joined Samagra back in 2019. Prior to Samagra, I have about a decade of experience. Majority of that has been in impact space. Currently, I'm a senior manager at Samagra, and I also play the role of chief of staff and lead multiple central team functions at Samagra. Ujjwal, over to you.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Glad to see all of you, and thanks for engaging on this evening hour. But I'm Ujjwal. I'm a vice president at Samagra. I've been around at Samagra for 7 years. Started out my career as a coder, but then made a switch given I knew that coding would not give me the kick that I wanted for my career. I joined Samagra after pursuing Young India Fellowship, and since then I've spent 7.5 years roughly at Samagra, worn multiple hats from consulting to tech to central functions, everything. Currently, I'm leading Samagra X and also Paddy is getting into consulting after a short break. So yeah, that's pretty much, and looking forward to the session with all of you.
Yes, folks. So before we get started, we have a very quick exercise for you all. So you can just quickly click on annotate on your devices, either phone, mobile, tabs, whatever you're using, and Pooja will flash a particular map. Yes, the map of India. We would love to see that which part of the country all of you are from. So quickly, just take out. So you can just put a dot or a tick mark. Please don't scribble random things. It will be lovely to see. Okay, so I see a lot of people from Delhi, a lot of people from Haryana, Punjab area. Okay. All right, that was great to hear, Rishabh. All right, so I see a lot of people from Delhi region, a lot of people from Bangalore region, a lot of people from Karnataka. Okay, some people from Northeast as well joining us. Bihar से भी है, UP में dots बहुत सारे दिख रहे हैं मेरे को. I see a lot of dots coming up from I think Mumbai and Maharashtra region as well. Okay, yes, and a few international people would also be here on the call. I'm totally cognizant of that. So what you can do is you can you can basically either be on the Arabian Sea side or on the Bay of Bengal side. So you can just put a tick mark on either of the side so that we know that you are coming from different parts of. Okay, so I see Amit Gupta right from either Southeast Asia or Japan region, so to say. All right, I see Paras from the other side of the world. Great, great, awesome, awesome, folks. It is wonderful to see this, this particular, matrix of places where all of you are from. And quickly take a screenshot also for our reference. Awesome. Okay, अब खिचड़ी बनने लग गई है, तो let's move on from this. Pooja, I think we can go ahead and show the video. So all of you, we have a very quick video to show. It's a 5-6 minute video, which is about Samagra video, which summarizes about Samagra in a very, very seamless manner. And then from after that, we'll quickly take you through the presentation with Ujjwal, delivering the same, and we'll then break up for a lot of Q&A coming your way. Thank you.
Introducing Sangeeta, Shivansh and Sarita. Sangeeta is a small-scale farmer in the Puri district of Odisha who earns a little over 1 lakh per annum. Shivansh is a grade 3 student in the Unnao district of Uttar Pradesh who is a grade competent student. Sarita is a contractual Group D employee in the Rewari district of Haryana who currently avails a monthly salary of roughly 15,000 rupees. But the lives of Sangeeta, Shivansh and Sarita weren't always like this. A few years back, Sangeeta dreamt about having a better life for her family by being able to increase her annual income. Similarly, Shivansh dreamt about performing well in his class by being able to easily read and solve basic maths. And Sarita, she dreamt about getting her monthly salary on time.
Sangeeta, Shivansh and Sarita are not alone. Almost each and every Indian aspires for a better tomorrow. At Samagra, we have made that as our mission, to improve the quality of life of citizens through better governance. For far too long as a country, we have had a lot of potential. It's high time now that we realize that potential. If we have to become a developed country or a Viksit Bharat by the time we turn 100, it's imperative that we meet the aspirations of our 150 crore people. We firmly believe that governance is a key lever of change. We also believe that if India has to transform from a governance perspective, it has to be state by state by state, with Government of India playing an enabling role. Therefore, we are focused on working with the political executive and the bureaucratic leadership across states in India on deep system reforms or systemic transformations. We started off with a very different model, which was we used to work with MPs and MLAs and support them with different aspects of constituency development. So, जहाँ से भी वो elect हो रहे हैं, how do you facilitate development in that region? So we started working with MPs across party lines in 8 different states in the country. This was 2013, 14, part of 2015. The larger learning from that phase was state is where you can really conceptualize, design things, and at the same time have a very direct control on implementation. So we pivoted in 2015 to our current model, where we work with the political and the bureaucratic leadership at the state level. Our approach over the years has been a combination of 3 things: a top-down management consulting approach for problem structuring, a very grounds-up understanding of the governance ecosystem for solution design, and appropriate use of technology and data to enable the large-scale implementation of these solutions. We really believe when these 3 things come together, that's when magic happens. And this approach is manifested in the day-to-day working of our teams.
Our USP in working with governments is threefold. First, the ability to come up with practical solutions that are implementable at scale. Second, the ability to drive large-scale change management in government system. And finally, the third, the ability to leverage technology to push the envelope in governance.
We work with the state when there's a clear pull. That means there's political will on a topic and there's a bureaucratic champion who has been mandated to drive the transformation. Once the pull is there, then we co-create a transformation roadmap together with the state. These transformation roadmaps are often a combination of policy unlocks, administrative or management levers, technical or domain-specific interventions, and technology enablers. And then we are there through a 3 to 5 year period to catalyze the implementation of this roadmap till the time statewide measurable outcomes are achieved and things become sustainable in the system.
Based on this model, over the years, we have worked on 25 plus systemic transformation programs cutting across geographies and domains such as agriculture, school education, benefit delivery, skilling and employment, healthcare, financial inclusion, and so on. For instance, our work in agriculture in Odisha has impacted more than 75 lakh farmers in the state.
In 2018, there was an outbreak that affected most of the state's paddy crop. We're working with Samagra. They started to register those farmers, and now they literally have a control center. When you walk in, you think, wow, this is agriculture, but you've got a command center and maps and people doing queries and sending out messages. I felt very much at home.
Similarly, our work in Haryana on benefit delivery impacted all the 2.7 crore citizens of the state.
गौरव गोयल जी का अपना एक बहुत बड़ा सहयोग इसमें हमको मिला है। चीज़ों को कैसे एफिशिएंट करना, कैसे फास्ट करना, कैसे नए आइडिया, कैसे टेक्नोलॉजी के साथ इसको आगे जोड़ना, बढ़ाना, इनकी पूरी टीम।
All our systemic transformation programs are powered by Samagra X, the umbrella under which we do all our GovTech and data gov work. We have also embarked on a gov.ai mission through which we aim to drive at-scale use cases of AI in governance in India over the next decade. We really believe in the power of AI to enable personalization at scale and to meet the needs of our diverse citizens where they are. Beyond all of this core work, we believe that the best minds in the country are needed to solve the complex governance challenges that India is facing today. Towards this end, we are driving a couple of ecosystem initiatives that are aimed at galvanizing the young, bright minds of India towards the governance space. The Governance Challenge is one such initiative. It is a unique competition targeted at students studying in the topmost postgraduate institutes across the country, which sensitizes them towards the governance space in an immersive manner. Code for GovTech or C4GT is another such initiative that is catalyzing a community of open source contributors and connecting them to organizations that are either building or adopting digital public goods across the country.
Over the years, in collaboration with governments and multiple other partners, lives of Sangeeta, Shivansh, Sarita, and crores of citizens like them have been impacted through our work. And now we are focused on making our contribution towards the Viksit Bharat. Come join us in this journey and commit yourself to nation building. As we say at Samagra, राष्ट्र निर्माण के यज्ञ में हमारी भी एक आहुति होनी चाहिए.
Great. So, folks, what is that one word that summarizes Samagra for you? If you can put it in the chat before Ujjwal takes over for the presentation. So, having gone through that video, okay, change, impact, all right, governance, effective governance, inclusion, impact. All right, great. There's transformation skills, a lot of interesting words coming our way. I'll now like to invite Ujjwal, Vice President at Samagra, to take us through the presentation. And then we'll be having a series of Q&A from your end. So during the presentation also, if something that comes to your mind, feel free to use the chat option to put the questions out there. We'll be more than happy to engage in the chat or address it towards the end of the presentation. Yeah, over to you, Ujjwal.
Thanks, Venkatesh. Great. So I hope all of you got a good glimpse of, quick overview of what Samagra is. So I'll just do a quick recap and then get into some other nuances about Samagra. So I'll just share my screen. So yeah, so just a quick recap. Who are we? I hope my screen is visible. Venkatesh, we're good?
Yeah.
Cool. Great. Thanks, Pooja. So as we just as Gaurav and I were sharing in the video, we are a mission-driven governance consulting firm. Now, a few phrases to keep in mind here. We are mission-driven. Our mission is to improve quality of lives of citizens through better governance. So for us, while there are multiple ways of creating change, creating impact in the society, for us, the key lever of change is working with governments for better quality of life. Given our focus is quality of life, that's why we are not sticking to particular domains. We work across domains, and you'll get a clearer picture as we proceed. Governance consulting, again, because we work only with governments, hence governance consulting is the niche or is the particular area that we specialize in, right? So, and consulting, of course, because we use the principles of top-down management consulting, all the entire approach of top-down problem solving, stakeholder management, all the management consultant needs to crack a problem statement is what we use. And we're a consulting firm. We're a professional firm that provides consulting services to the government to end-to-end crack a problem statement. So we are a mission-driven governance consulting firm. That's what this means. Now, just to give a further flavor of beyond what you saw in the video of the kind of problem statements that we work on. So here's a few examples. First, something that we have been working very closely with the Kerala judiciary on is how do we reimagine how a court case should get solved in Indian judiciary. As we understand, Governments are generally kind of slow when it comes to innovation. It takes time. Like there are disruptions like UPI that have happened, but there are multiple areas in the governments that still need innovation. If we talk about judiciary, that is even further behind. There are more than 5 crore pending cases in India. There's a lot of disruption that's needed in the judiciary space. So one problem statement that we are focusing on is how do we reimagine how a court should function? How do we increase its effectiveness, its predictability, its efficiency by 10x, by 100x is the idea. And we have started with check bounce case as one particular case type, that how do we solve for it? So that's one example, right? Second, how do we improve student learning outcomes? That's something that we are working in both in UP and Haryana. But in UP, how do you really get foundational literacy and numeracy to be sorted? When I say foundational literacy and numeracy, the basic ability to read, write, and to do basic mathematics is how does a child do that well when they're in their 3 to 9-year-old journey is something that we are working on in the state of UP. Then how do we overhaul scheme and benefit delivery? Indian government is a welfare state. What it definitely ensures is how do we provide welfare support, monetary, non-monetary support to, sorry, I'll just request everyone to close down annotation now because we can see some random scribbles on the screen. Yeah, so how do we really overhaul benefit delivery is another problem statement that we are working in this state of UP. So all governments spend crores of money just on ensuring that we can support those who are socioeconomically disadvantaged. So how do you do that more efficiently? How do you reach the people who really need that benefit? Is a problem statement that we are solving in the state of Uttar Pradesh. Then doubling farmers' income. For a long time, India's agriculture has been focused on ensuring food security. Now we are producing enough food, but how do we ensure that people who are producing this food for us, which are farmers, how does their income increase? And all of us have, most of you would have heard about farmer suicides and the income still being very, very low for our farmers, them operating very small lands with unpredictability of season, climate change. How do we really protect them against those harms and ensure that they have a stable income every year? That's another problem statement that we have been working on in Odisha for last more than 7 years now. So just an example of the diversity of problem statements. Now I'll just take some time to kind of take you through one particular program to give you a sense of how do we solve a problem statement. So you have an idea who we are, you understand what are the diversity of problem statements that we work on. Now, how do we really go about solving one particular problem statement? Let me give you an example. Right, so I'll just take the example of NIPUN Bharat cell, which is the team that has been set up in Uttar Pradesh for the NIPUN Bharat implementation. Again, what I was explaining just now, which is foundational literacy and numeracy, to ensure that across the country, a NIPUN Bharat mission, a national mission was launched in 2021 for the entire country to move ahead in ensuring FLN goals for students of 3 to 9-year-old. We work particularly with the education department, which looks at grades 1 to 3, which is 6 to 9-year-old. And we have been working in the state of UP from end of 2019, which is roughly 5 years. We have been working in the state to make sure that the outcomes are achieved. So what is our theory of change? And again, what I will be showing is something that we have evolved over time, right? It is not something that we came up today because we have been working for the last 5 years. So basis all our learnings, the latest theory of change is what I will be explaining to you. And also one thing to note is that for every program, every problem statement that we work on, we have a goal in mind that we're trying to pursue over a 2 to 3 year period. And there's a theory of change, which captures of how do we aim to achieve that goal. So let me show what that is for NIPUN Bharat in UP, right? So here our goal is to ensure that all government school students from grades 1 to 3 become FLN competent. Now, FLN competency is always achieved in 2 subjects. One is your mother tongue language, which is Hindi in the case of UP, and then maths. How do we ensure that all government school students, which is roughly 60 lakhs plus students, get out of grades 1 to 3 every year in government school? So how do we get that all 60 lakh students every year in grades 1 to 3 in UP become FLN competent? And how do we achieve this goal by 2026, which is the end of academic year 2025-2026? National mission is till 2027, but because UP was the state that launched this mission even before the national mission came into being, that's why UP wants to achieve this even before the national timelines. So how do we make sure that this happens by 2026? So that's the goal that we are chasing. Now, what's the theory of change? Now, if I really want to make sure that this happens across a state as big as UP, which has 20 crore worth population, there are 5 crore families, 60 lakh students per year in grades 1 to 3 in government schools who are graduating from these grades, this is huge scale, right? So what's the system size like? There are 1 lakh plus schools, 5 lakh plus teachers. So they need to really understand how to get to this goal and what the goal is after all. This sounds like a good statement, but how do you break it down and how do you make sure that a teacher, a block officer, a district officer, a state officer, the entire cadre who's responsible for this goal understands what the goal is and what is their role towards the goal. So for that, we have our first pillar, which is goal and role clarity, making sure that right from state till the last mile teacher, everyone has clarity on what the goal is and what's their role in that goal, right? And how do you also make that simple, that if a grade 1 child is able to add two double digit numbers, and if they're able to say read 5 3-letter words, they are FLN competent. That's how simplified the goal is. And how do you get it to the last mile? That's what this pillar is about. Now this is done. I understand what the goal is. As a teacher, I understand what my role is. What else is needed? So now let's get to the classroom, right? So in the classroom, what do you need? You need to ensure that there are the right academic inputs in the classroom, right? From ensuring the right pedagogy, which is the right curriculum is being taught in the classroom. There are right academic tools for the teachers to teach. There's teacher training. The teachers need to be trained on how to ensure that the entire classroom becomes FLN competent. And then supportive supervision is something that there's a cadre of star teachers who have been really good in their career. There's a cadre of 5,000 such teachers who today support these teachers across the state in doing their job better and teaching better. So if we are able to provide these 3 inputs, so that's what we are focusing on the input front, right? Pedagogy, right? Teacher training, and supportive supervision is mentors ensuring that teachers get regular feedback on their teaching. So this is sorted now, assuming that the classroom has all these inputs. Second you need is, there's no point of doing all of this if there's no measurement. If I don't know how my class is progressing, it's very hard that I will be able to ensure that my entire classroom after the end of academic year becomes FLN competent. So that's why this is one of the innovative initiatives that we partnered on with Google. In 2022 is when we double clicked, but we partnered with Google to build the NIPUN Lakshya app. What is this app? This is basically an FLN thermometer, where if I have a student in front of me, the student can read a paragraph basically, which tells whether the child is able to read X number of words correctly in a particular minute or not. So oral reading fluency is what gets assessed, basic mathematics is what gets assessed, and writing is what gets assessed. So we have partnered with Google Reader now for ORF particularly, which is oral reading fluency. So this thermometer, once a child has attempted a certain assessment in 5 to 7 minutes, gives a sense whether the child is NIPUN or not, which means whether the child is FLN competent or not. This is the tool that is being used by teachers, by mentors, by officers, by third-party assessors to see whether there's actual movement on the ground in terms of learning outcomes. Now in the classroom, there are inputs, there's this measurement tool. What else do you need? So the biggest missing factor in the government ecosystem is lack of incentives, lack of motivation, right? So that's the third pillar of our theory of change. That now, assuming that I have the right inputs, I have the measurement tool which gives me a sense, what will motivate me? For that, we have this NIPUN Vidyalaya and NIPUN Ghoshna. This is something that Samagra came up with in Haryana first, which is a gamification model where a school and a block has the opportunity to nominate themselves. Say a school nominates that, yes, I am ready to be NIPUN. An impartial assessor comes and assesses that school, and if 80% of the students are able to clear the FLN competency criteria, they are declared NIPUN. If 80% schools are declared NIPUN, then the block becomes NIPUN. If 80% of block becomes NIPUN, then the district becomes NIPUN. So this is a cascaded gamification that we tried out in Saksham, Haryana, which is our Haryana program. And within 2 years, we saw a huge jump in the learning outcomes of the state, and something that we are doing in UP as well. Right now, as we speak, NIPUN Vidyalaya rounds are underway this academic year, and we are seeing how the results changed from last year's NIPUN Vidyalaya. So this is something that provides motivation. If my school can get declared as NIPUN, that's when I'm motivated to actually make this happen. So that's where motivation as a pillar comes in. Now I have all of this at a classroom level. The goal and role clarity is there for system actors. There are right inputs, measurement, motivation. What else do we need to make sure that this huge mission is possible? So let's think of some system level enablers, right? So the first enabler is the right communication, making sure that there is no loss in translation when things are being sent from state to district to block. So what we have a lot of physical workshops that we do to orient everyone on the ground. We have built a tool that allows enterprise communication right from state directly to the teacher. There are WhatsApp groups where consistent communication happens, and we make sure that the communication is same, just creating recall value that this is the NIPUN Lakshya, this is the goal that we want to achieve. So a lot of salient communication happens right from state till the last mile. Second key systemic pillar is review monitoring. How do we make sure that as a state, we are moving towards the outcomes that we really want? So there's a strong review monitoring system, right from defining data-backed review system to having a dashboard that's continuously monitored at state and field level, to Vidya Samiksha Kendra, which is almost a call center that continuously studies the data and makes calls to the field officials basis. If a block officer has not been able to complete their monitoring visits in this month, then they receive a call from Vidya Samiksha Kendra to make sure that they complete their targets in the month, right? So this is a strong review monitoring pipeline that there is in the system. And finally, how do you also make sure that there is district level ownership? Right? So this is overall the theory of change. So this last pillar that you see is district ownership. I'll skip in interest of time, but how do we make sure that different early champions or a critical mass of districts are quickly becoming NIPUN so that rest of the state catches momentum and is able to achieve this ambitious goal? So this is what the goal and theory of change for NIPUN Bharat in UP is. Similarly, for each of our program, whether it's agriculture or benefit delivery or judiciary, there's a clear goal that we define for a 2 to 3 year period and a theory of change, which is the how of how do we want to get to that goal. Cool. So I hope this gives you a glimpse of what goes behind solving for a problem statement, right? Now, moving on, this is just to give you an example of the diversity of domains that we work in. So NIPUN Bharat is around education. We have something in agriculture, which is farmer income. Then we have benefit delivery, particularly tribal welfare. We have in Odisha, then judiciary in Kerala. We have also an AI conversational chatbot for the Mahakumbh that's happening in January, Feb in the coming year. So a lot of diversity on digital governance, agriculture, education, all these different domains, right? So now moving on, now there are two particular So there are overall, if I just take a step back, that all the work that we do, what is common across these programs? They're in different domains. Their goal and theory of change will look very different. But what are some common characteristics of our programs? So the very first and most important, one of the most important levers is having a strong government pull. We could have been, there are, as all of us understand, there's no dearth of problem statements in the country. There's a lot of things that need to be solved, but we don't want to do a program for all of those problem statements. Why? Because we need strong government pull. And what do we mean by strong government pull? We don't go and start working on a problem statement with the government because that's of our interest. That's not something that will create that synergy which is conducive for change. We look for strong government pull, that there's a mandate that the political leadership cares about, and there's a strong bureaucrat who's not just, obviously there are a lot of smart officers, but how do we get those entrepreneurial officers who are wanting to go above and beyond to achieve missions like NIPUN Bharat that I just showed? It takes a lot to deliver all of these missions. So we look for strong government pull. If we don't see that government pull, then we don't start a new program, and we are careful in ensuring that the setup is right. We are set up for success. And then, of course, a lot needs to happen to make the program successful, but the setup has to be good to begin with. Second is that we don't get paid by the government. We have, and this is by choice, and we can come to the reasons in the Q&A, but we take a professional fee through philanthropic funding, right? That's unlocked by the government. So the government makes sure that there's a philanthropic partner who's giving the fee for all the consulting work that we do for a 2 to 3 year period at a time for a particular goal, right? So there's a professional fee that's involved, which comes from philanthropic sources, and we by design do not take funding from the government, right? Third is that we have a 4 to 6 member crack team. Now, these problem statements are huge. The scale is huge. Now, we are not deploying field force, right? There's a 4 to 6 member crack team that works with the bureaucratic leadership, with the political leadership to actually get this done with the government machinery. The idea is to empower the government machinery, catalyze change, and not replace what's happening in the government, right? We co-create a 2 to 4 year comprehensive roadmap, which is again, because there's a funding partner, there's government and there's us. So we co-create a roadmap working with all the stakeholders to make sure that we are achieving something which is tangible, ambitious, and is changing the needle in that ecosystem, right? Then, as I explained, the role is largely to catalyze implementation. We are not there to replace what the government is doing, but to really catalyze the implementation with the system. And finally, whatever we do, the idea is to make sure that we stay the course. We are not just there to give a strategy document to the government that this is how you should be solving this problem. We work with them, diagnose the situation, design the roadmap, and then stay the course until the outcomes are achieved. So that's what we make sure in whatever programs we are onto. So these are some common characteristics of our programs. Now, as you can understand, there are two horizontal levers that are needed in addition to all the consulting work or consulting principles that we apply. One is technology, and second is strong design sense, which by design, I mean strong user centricity and user understanding. So let me come to both of these horizontal levers. So as it was also explained in the video, we work at the intersection of governance and technology, and Samagra X is what powers all of the technology and governance work that we do, right? So there's a X team. So Samagra X is an umbrella term that we use for anything tech or data that's happening in our programs. But there's a X team that makes sure that this tech and product is being built right. And we support, the X team supports everyone on two fronts. One is product design and second is tech management. So I'll come to what these details are. And overarching below this, there's a gov.ai mission. Again, something that you saw in the video that we have embarked on, where we want to implement use cases of AI in governance that can really transform the situation on ground, right? And that's what is covered here as gov.ai. Again, I'll come to the details. So how do we support on product design? Let me take an example and explain. So for example, this is the NIPUN Bharat Monitoring Center. Right? This is again an overall monitoring center for all the important education KPIs that a state should be monitoring and making sure that there is compliance on to achieve a particular mission. Right? So in this case, the team really worked, the XT worked with the NIPUN Bharat team, the program team, to actually ensure that what are the KPIs that should be tracked, how should they be visualized, how do we ensure that all possible views and KPIs are being tracked in this dashboard, in this center itself. How should the call center team function? What are the metrics that they should see every day? And what are the kind of calls that they should be making to make sure that the system is working towards achieving these KPIs? So here the product design of how those centers should look, the physical product as well as the tech product, how that should happen is where, say, Samagra X came in, right? Another area is on the tech management front. Another example. So Antyodaya Saral, this is again something that we did in Haryana, where we worked on creating a one-stop solution for all 500 plus schemes and services that government of Haryana provides to citizens. So again, what was the tech management that had to be done here? So we onboarded NIC Haryana, government of Haryana onboarded NIC Haryana to be the tech partner here, supported by NIC government of India, and every department which had legacy systems or did not have legacy systems had to work on this platform to make it real, a one-stop solution for all schemes and services from a citizen perspective. So we made sure that as our team, our own team basically worked with all of these tech partners to make sure that this was built in time and implemented at the right level. There were dashboards that were made. There was a ticket management system for the physical centers on ground. So all of these applications were delivered through strong tech management by our team, by our program team working with the state. And XT supported the program team in making sure that the tech management was in the right direction, right? Ensuring that the tech actually gets delivered once it has been thought through. So that's an example of tech management. So that's where XT kind of comes in to ensure. On gov.ai, currently we are working on 3 use cases, right? So we are working on the Nipun Lakshya app where natural language processing is being used. We are also using generative AI to generate questions using GPT, right? How do we generate questions at scale contextually relevant for a particular state? That's where AI is being used. Then there's a Farmers Unified Portal that we are using where AI is being used for empowering farmer advisory. How do we provide personalized farmer advisory to farmers and the extension workers who work with farmers using, again, LLM, right? So that's where agriculture is using AI. And then there is also Kumbh Sahayak. Like I said, there's a conversational AI bot that we are building for the Mahakumbh visitors who would be visiting soon in January, February. So again, under the gov.ai mission, we are focusing on these 3 kind of use cases. So these are some examples of the work under Samagra X. Now, this is one horizontal lever. The other horizontal lever is good design, which is good understanding of user. So again, we really stress on how to make sure that the understanding of the user is accurate, because if that's not accurate, then whatever solutioning you may do will not work. So there are 3 critical levers that we focus on: knowing your citizen, so making visits to the field, shadowing the citizen, understanding what their life is, shadowing the official that you are trying to kind of influence on ground, making sure that you understand their life. User centricity, whether it's an output that you're creating for a stakeholder or a product that you are designing for the field, how do you ensure that it's really user centric and designed for the user? So doing extensive consultations, interviews, running prototypes by your users to make sure that you're building it the right way. And third way where design focus is behavioral change. And any change definitely needs that behavioral change on ground. Like if we are building a farmer advisory AI bot, it will not get used unless the farmer's comfort with AI or with a mobile application increases. So how do we drive that behavioral change is where design comes in and really shadows the users to understand how to drive that behavior change. Right? So program team and design team work together on know your citizen, on user centricity, on behavioral change to make sure that we are leveraging all the user centricity principles in our work. So that's on the design front. So these are again 2 horizontal levers, right? So to give you an example of user research. So last year we were working, this year until like few months back, we were working with the RBI Innovation Hub. which is a sector-rate company which is responsible to push the envelope on financial inclusion. It's a body of RBI, but it's a separate entity which is meant to innovate in the financial inclusion ecosystem. So when we started working with them, because their game is to see where is that void where financial inclusion needs to be catalyzed, and then double clicking on those areas. So the design team and program team worked closely with RBIH to identify what are the different personas on ground and who needs what kind of support in financial inclusion. So we conducted intensive user research, 100 plus interviews, identified 3-4 personas, and then designed targeted solutions for each of those personas basis our understanding, right? So like, for example, just to give you a glimpse, these are the 4 types of personas that we found on ground. Like there's a return maximizer, jo chota sa bhi ek savings karke, how can I get maximum benefit? That's the mindset. No small savers who will just put in small money and would just make sure that it's building it over time. They don't want like big returns fast. They're not return maximizer. Unaware small saver who's not even saving small, and one lone saver who's just saving for their individual needs. So this is the persona depth that we got after we did the thorough user research. So how do you understand who are you solving a problem for? That's where user research comes in, and then being cognizant of these user personas and making sure that you design for them is extremely critical in the work we do. So this was an example of how design comes into the work that Samagra does, right? Now, the bigger question, what sets us apart, right? First, a scale of our programs. Everything that we do, so impact at scale is a hugely exploited phrase at Samagra, because all that we do is basically at scale. Nothing that we do is not statewide. So it has to be statewide. State is that right unit of change that we see for ourselves. National is too far from the action, and except for like few areas where national can really change the game, but national is far from action and district is too close to action and does not have that policy lever that we need. So state is that perfect unit of change. Everything is statewide. As I said, UP, like a population of 20 crores, right? Haryana having a population of 4 crores. So again, everything is at scale. So scale of programs is one. You just don't do strategy, you also stay the course till outcomes are achieved. So you actually get your hands dirty and see whether something that you recommend works or does not. Consulting plus product, because you're not just doing consulting, you're also getting opportunities to to get right products built and implemented on ground. And finally, diversity of stakeholders. So whether it's funding partner, whether it's a tech partner, whether it's a pedagogy expert as an education program, whether it's a agriculture advisory expert that you meet. So multiple stakeholders that you meet as you work in different domains. So scale, strategy, implementation, consulting, product, diversity of stakeholders is really what sets us apart. And how we see ourselves is like the McKinsey plus Google of the governance space. That's how we articulate ourselves in this ecosystem, right? Now, coming down to what does a program associate do? Because all of you must be thinking, once I join, what will I do? That's the bigger question. So let me again take you through this journey. So this is how a typical team is designed, right? So there are program owners, there's the senior leadership in the firm. Then there's a program lead who's sharing time between 2 to 3 programs. So typically they spend 1/3 of their time on one program. Then there's a program coordinator who's full-time managing day-to-day action on the program. So delivery ownership, stakeholder coordination is on them. And then there are 4, say, consultants, which are the program associates, who are working on different set of work streams. The entire theory of change that you saw in NIPUN, there are multiple work streams. So consultants are owning 2 to 3 or 2 to 4 work streams at a time to deliver on those. And they are supported by the design team and the X team on both sides. So that's what a typical team construct looks like, right? So again, if to give an example, suppose this is the program, then you will have basically a team member who's currently, say, owning NIPUN Lakshya app, teacher training, Vidya Samiksha Kendra. So anyone, depending on their kind of seniority, their abilities, will get like 2 to 4 work streams, and the complexity of work streams varies. All of that is a variation of how you evolve and grow in the firm. But at any point in time, you are handling these work streams, different combination of work streams in your particular program, right? Just give me a second. Cool. So programs, as you can see, has to handle multiple types of work streams. And because of that, you get the exposure of problem solving, product management, stakeholder management, field visits, understanding the user. So you have to use all of these multiple skills to deliver on your work stream. And of course, there is enough and more support from your managers and from the firm to make sure that you feel empowered to do all of this. Now, why should you be at Samagra? So again, as you can see that all of us are all focused towards this mission of improving quality of life. So you get to do a lot of impactful work that is hard, that is tough, that has a lot of rigor, but gives you satisfaction at the end of the day. So good impactful work. a very steep learning curve. That's a big focus, that how do we make sure that from day one you will have high ownership, which will make sure by design that your learning is extremely steep. Fast growth. So if you are a high performing individual, then you will not feel the gap in your growth. It will be kind of acknowledged, appreciated, and you will see that fast growth for yourself, right? And supportive peers. So supportive peers, supportive leadership, to make sure that they're invested in you, invested in your success. That is the vibe that you'll get when you're at Samagra. So that's the reason, that's the four top of the mind things that kind of define why you should be at Samagra, right? Now I'll just invite Ane, who's a program lead at Samagra, to share his own journey for you to understand that what a typical journey and what an amazing journey actually can look like. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Ujjwal, for this. Actually, the four things that you shared on the earlier slide are the things that I was going to double click on. So, hi everyone, I'm Anay. I'm a postgraduate from FMS. I was working with a corporate for around 4 years before joining Samagra. I joined Samagra around July of 2022, where I was, posted as an associate on the Connect program, where we are trying to double the farmers' income in the state of Odisha. As an associate, as Ujjwal also mentioned earlier, you are basically owning 3 to 4 work streams. And I was looking at the Q&As also. Some of you had asked a question, if you can have some ideas and implement those. So as a work stream owner, you have full ownership of what you want to do and what you want to achieve on that work stream, right? And whatever ideas that you have, you will be able to implement it at scale, at the scale of the state. So I was working on a couple of things called Go Sugam and Connect Stack. Go Sugam is basically a service delivery scheme and service delivery platform for the agriculture and livestock farmers. So we were building and rolling out that platform. I was working on that for around a year or so, worked in the Connect program for a year, then stepped up as the program coordinator. So from being an individual contributor where I was handling 3 to 4 work stream, I stepped up as the manager of the program. A similar program in Odisha, but that was primarily working on the livestock side, where we had the goal to, create a strategy which will help the state double the milk production of Odisha. We created that strategy, got it, approved from the cabinet and the chief minister's office, and it got launched this year. Worked as the manager, again, moving from an individual contributor owning 3 to 4 work stream to a manager who managed 3 to 4 people, team members, right? Again, worked on Leap for around a year and then stepped up as the program lead. So now currently I'm managing both the Connect and livestock programs in the state, where the total team size is around 11 to 12 people, and handling a couple of departments, Department of Agriculture and Department of Animal Husbandry and Fisheries. And I would say that the journey basically has been of the 4 pillars that Ujjwal mentioned, right? Very high ownership, coming from a corporate background where, some of you who have work experience might feel that you are a cog in a very, very large wheel, to coming to somewhere where you are the face for something specific for the state, right? You are working day to day with the principal secretaries or the directors within the government and trying to implement things. Second is high impact. You go on district visits every month, at least 2 days of a month, and see the kind of impact that the interventions that you are driving at the state level are having on ground. So very high on ownership, very high on impact, very high on growth. Again, as you can see, my journey joined a couple of years back as an associate. Now I'm a program lead managing 2 teams. So very high on growth, and at times the firm will give you opportunities when you think that you might not be ready for it, but the firm will, place that confidence in you. And final thing is the people. Again, for those who have a prior work experience and want to join the impact sector, you might be looking around you and not finding people who are mission oriented, right? But when you come here and join, you see 80, 100 odd people who are geared towards impact and, working day in and day out just to make sure that the interventions that you are doing are actually having some positive impact on the lives of people. So that has been my journey, and a very, very fruitful and I would say satisfying journey till now. So yeah, that's my bit. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Ane. Now I just invite Venkatesh to run us through what is the main critical questions that must be on your mind regarding the recruitment process, how fast a growth can you expect at the firm, and so on. So over to you, Venkatesh.
Yes. Thank. So I was also addressing a lot of questions. So many of the questions should get addressed by the next 3, 4 slides, and then obviously, if there are more things that you have in mind, you can ask the questions. You can put on the chat. At a later stage, we'll also ask people to raise their hand and ask the questions as well. Right now, in terms of the roles, there are 4 specific roles that we have opened up. It is the associate role, senior associate role, and the consultant role, which is on the screen right now, right? And that is in the consulting track of Samagra. Now, the way we do our recruitment, please note, is that there's a common application portal. You do not get to choose your role that you're applying for. So many of you have asked that which role should I apply for? Do not bother about that at all at this stage. All of that will get decided once you get shortlisted, interviews happen, we'll assess based on your profile, will assess based on your interview, right, previous experience, and so on and so forth, and then determine which specific role, either an associate, senior associate, and a consultant, that you basically fit into. So do not worry about those things. Now, as mentioned, yeah,
Venkatesh,
yes,
let me
Ujjwal.
just
Yeah.
add one thing. Yeah. So also in the previous slides, you saw something as program associate, program coordinator, program lead, right? Once you join the firm, you will be starting out in the role of program associate, but your designation, however, might be of an associate, senior, whatever you see on this slide particularly are your designations. And you're not applying for Samagra for a particular designation. Designation, as Venkatesh, will get ascertained as you interview with us. We see your past and kind of see your interview performance. With all of that combined, your designation will get decided. It's not something that you need to worry about on what designation should I apply for. But designation is a function of, like I said, the factors that Venkatesh has mentioned already. But role,
Yeah.
you would be starting out with the role of a program associate, and depending on your journey, then you progress to a program coordinator, program lead, and so on. Yeah.
Yeah, so yes, rightly pointed out, there are 2 things. There's a role, which is just 3 of them: program associate, program coordinator, and program lead. And there's designations, which could essentially in the organization be associate, senior associate, consultant, senior consultant, emerging leader, manager, senior manager, vice president. So those are just designations, and there could be different kind of roles that these people could be undertaking, right, at different levels, right? So that's, I hope that is very clear as well. So yes, but typically you see that this is how the designation journey looks like: 0 to 3 years of experience, associate, senior associate; 3 to 6 years of experience, consultant, senior consultant, and so on and so forth. Just one small nuance: these are not very hard, brackets, because it also depends upon the kind of experience you've had. Do you have an MBA? You do not have an MBA? All those things may also come into the picture while making a decision which role is your right fit, right? Can we go to the next slide, Ujjwal? Now there's a 4th role, right? And yes, one important thing is that at Samagra, the profit sharing, which typically happens for partners in some of the consulting firms, the profit sharing in Samagra starts at the senior consultant designation and above itself. So that's another value prop, to grow fast and start, also making great profits out of the Oryx profit as well. Yes. Now the 4th role is essentially the emerging leader role. Now this is a specific role which is only for a very specific type of archetype. Many of you have been asking, I am this, I am that, मेरा इतना experience है, this is the kind of experience I have, months of experience, so on and so forth. Let me clear the air out right now. Whatever the JD says is set in stone, right? So, Ujjwal, if you can go ahead. Yes. So, emerging leader, or the Samagra Emerging Leader Program, is ELP, right? Is only there for people who essentially have 33 months of experience, right? That is the minimum criteria, 33 and above, and you should have worked within that time frame for at least 1 year in either of these organizations. It could be McKinsey, Bain, or BCG. It could be HUL, PNG, or ITC in, say, a sales marketing role, right? It could be having your own startup, so you co-founder of a startup which is not a family business. So we'll look into all those nitty-gritties to ascertain if you are eligible for an SELP role or not. And if you have taken some CEO's office or a PNL ownership or a chief of staff kind of a role in some high growth startup, right? So all those things will be evaluated, and then you'll be told whether you are eligible for a SELP or not, right? Now, what is the value prop of SELP, right? And why are we making this so stringent? Because it is a very high rigor expectation program, wherein within the expectation is that you become program coordinator. So you join in as a program associate as in terms of your role, but within 1 or 1.5 years, you are expected to become a program coordinator, and therefore it comes with that expectation. That's why there's a very specific kind of archetype that we have curated based on our own experience of what kind of people have kind of grown really well and adopted to the program coordinator expectation really well at Samagra. So after 1.5 years, we become a senior consultant. We could follow a program lead, becoming a partner, and as mentioned in the previous slide, also, Ujjwal, if we can go ahead, that the also applicable after you become a senior consultant and above. Forward, yes, a lot of you are asking question about how to submit. We'll come to that also very quickly. Ujjwal, if we can go ahead, yeah. Yes. Now, many of you ask, what are we looking for, right? So if we abstract it out, we're looking for first and foremost impact orientation, which basically means that you have a strong zeal towards impact. Now, this does not in any way mean that we will only shortlist or prefer people who have prior impact experience, right? So you don't have to be working in some of the other firms or NGOs or any other impact sector firm to be shortlisted or be given some advantage on that matter. Idea essentially is that what is that driving force that motivates you towards impact is what we look for, and therefore that will come through your resume. It may come through your interview rounds as well. The second very essential thing, because we are a professional consulting firm, that practical problem solving is a very essential thing, right? And therefore, in the interviews, we'll be doing an in-depth discussion on a case study, and we'll be testing out your practical problem solving skills. Second, the third thing essentially is interpersonal skills, so communication skills, stakeholder management skills. All of those things will be tested out in subsequent rounds. And finally, a strong drive towards an objective or an outcome. And that also translates to the prompt that you have been given for the video submission in round one, right? Ujjwal, if you can go to the last slide, this I will like to devote some time on. So currently we are at a stage where we opened the applications in the mid of December. Currently the applications are open. You can go to the website of Samagra. I will request my colleague Pooja to put in the website link where you can click and go and apply on the join us page of Samagra. Till 3rd of January is the deadline to submit two things, right? So obviously there's a form which has basic details, name, phone number, email address, 10th, 12th marks, and all those things are there. But apart from that, two very important submissions. One essentially is a one-pager resume. Now, I would like to emphasize it very, very vehemently that it has to be a one-pager resume. We will not accept 1.5, one page, one line, two-pager resume, 5-pager resumes at all. You might have done wonders in your life, and we will still reject you because we have explicitly called out that it has to be a one-pager resume. Right. Second is a 90-second video. Now there lies the biggest challenge in terms of understanding what is expected. So let me clear it out for you as well. It has to be a 90-second video in which you are taking a video of yourself. So it could be via a phone, it could be via a camera, it could be via your laptop, whatever source works. And we want you to talk about an experience in your life where you have demonstrated drive. What does that mean? It means that you've worked towards a specific cause or a specific goal in mind for a longer duration of time. And the rule of thumb there is at least 6 months, right? What we want to understand here is that are you able to sustain a particular effort for a longer duration of time, which is very essential for a Samagra-like setup, where the programs are long duration. It takes patience to get the outcome and and outputs of whatever efforts you're putting in. And therefore, we want to see that in life, have you done that? Which could be academic, non-academic, it could be your Bharatnatyam dance journey, it could be your weight loss journey, whatever comes to your mind essentially. But the core of the thing is that are you able to sustain an effort towards a goal? And what challenges did you come across? How did you navigate them? All of that in 90-second time frame itself. So you make these submissions till 3rd of January. Some of you have also asked that I have already submitted, I want to resubmit. Please go ahead. We'll take the most recent submission that you have. So if you want to apply again, record again based on whatever we have discussed here, please feel free to do so. There's no problem. We'll discount the last, the previous ones, and we'll just take the most recent one that you have submitted. Now, 120 seconds is not okay. As I mentioned, 90 second is 90 second at max. Because of rendering, we can give leeway of say 4-5 seconds, not beyond that. Do not at all go beyond 95 seconds. Our team will open it, look at the timestamp, and not look at the content at all if it is beyond 95 seconds. So that is how shortlisting will happen in real time. So you might have taken a lot of efforts, but unfortunately, because of not adhering to guidelines, right, we will not be able to take your application forward. Right now, beyond that, 90 seconds, someone has asked preparation for exams or review letters, all those things. After that, basically round two will happen 11th, 12th, or 13th. So when you are submitting the application, you have a choice to pick a date. So you can pick a date where you are when you want to do this particular round two, which essentially is a concept note round. More details will come, right? Which essentially means that you'll be given a prompt and you'll have to create a 1 page or a 2 pager strategy document of sorts, right? And there's a short quiz or an MCQ quiz that will accompany that. So there'll be a time frame of about 3 hours from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. in which you will be expected to complete this. After this, again, shortlisting will happen, right? And then round three and round four essentially are governance case interviews. Right now, how to prepare for them, right? Many of you might have encountered a lot of consulting interviews which have profitability cases, market entry cases, and so on and so forth. The thing to note here is that these interviews are governance cases. These are very, very essential to understand that they are going to be in principle similar to any other consulting case in terms of being messy in nature, structure, problem solving, practical solutions, and all of that, but they are going to be in context of governance. How to prepare? When you submit your application, you will get 4 links on the website itself. The fourth link essentially is a governance consulting case booklet. We have compiled about 9 to 10 different cases as an example of how you can practice, what kind of cases you can solve for your interviews. Please save that, and we'll send that also to shortlisted people later on for yourself, but you can access it now also when you apply. So the dates essentially are we are also giving option to choose the date 25th or 27th. You choose one of the dates. We align your round one interview, who gets shortlisted, do the final round of interview on 1st of February, and we make an offer there and then itself. This is the complete process. I hope a lot of questions were there and they got addressed. If there are any more questions, more than happy to answer them, and you can put it in the chat. We have already taken some of the questions in the chat. You can raise your hand also if there's some pressing question, and we can ask a few people to unmute themselves as well. So Himanshu, do not worry about ATS friendly and all of those things. Just make a good resume, because we are not using any software. Me and Pooja, both of us will, along with a team of other people, will be sitting and looking at all our resumes. Yes, Sukanya, please go
And
ahead.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
Venkatesh must have already clarified, but we are just kind of, this drive is just open for consulting roles. So that's just one thing to note.
Yes.
We are not hiring for product or tech
Yeah.
roles right now. So this is just for consulting. Yeah.
Yes, and also 18 months is a very important thing, because we are having a freshers hiring separately. So from 15 February, people with 0 to 18 months of experience will be having a different drive itself. So you can apply then. If you're on the border, go ahead and apply. We'll see if there is if it is a 1 or 2 days, 3 4 days, that's fine. We can still consider. Yes, Sukanya, please go ahead. You can unmute yourself.
Hey, hi guys. Thank you for organizing this session. I think a lot of us have many questions, and thank you for solving it simultaneously as well. I was observing all the chats. But apart from that, my question is: you guys have mentioned that you work in a handful of states as of now, like Odisha, UP has been mentioned. So, given the projection of the organization, will you be expanding more, or will these be the core states to be focused upon? And secondly, are all the solutions are tech based? So, actually, I'm working in Nagaland as of now, and data collection and technical solutions are not a part of the ecosystem, and it's very difficult to get that thing going. So just trying to understand, like, how is the growth that you're projecting, and if we are to join, then are we going to work on the similar projects going forward?
Yeah, so the states that you see are where we are currently working. The common characteristics that I covered on when do we choose a program versus not is our criteria of picking a new state. So, or picking a new program, and we are not curtailing ourselves to these states. These are the states where we just happen to be working right now. We may start working with Andhra tomorrow. It depends on the criteria getting met for a right problem statement, which we are interested in, bases our mission, and the right kind of setup in the governance ecosystem to actually make it successful. So we are not hell-bent on sticking to these states. So it's a matter of time, and it's again something which is not deterministic in nature. As in, when we find a new state, we are not kind of close to that at all. So that's on the first one. So just let me know if there's an additional nuance that you're trying to understand there. Second, just clarifying whatever we do on our programs, as I was explaining the theory of change and all the different initiatives that go behind the scenes are not all tech and data. There are some of them that require that understanding of technology and data. And again, you are not supposed to, as a consulting team member, you will be might be involved in getting the right product designed. You might be involved in getting that delivered, ensuring that it's adopted, evolving the product basis using, again, that's one of the work streams that you will have. But there are enough and more non-tech, non-data, which could be around policy design, teacher training, pedagogy design with experts. A lot of these are not tech related. For example, in the particular program that I took, as an example, right? So in all our programs, it's not that all our work streams are technology and data initiatives. It's dependent on the need of the program. It could be a policy change, it could be a product change, it could be a particular scheme that has to be designed, it could be execution, multiple types of things that happen. Technology data, as is the case of the world today, gets leveraged in multiple of these, but that's not a starting point for any of our work.
Okay, I have just one more final question. Like you mentioned, it is not like something that we are trying to do separately from the existing mechanism in the government. We are trying to support it, right? So let's say, just to give you an insight, there is a particular application of a sort that is being developed in Nagaland to track the teacher absenteeism, to track the teacher attendance, because there's a lot of like proxy teaching and all those things are there.
Got it.
So, while working with Samagra, so is it a possibility that we can make that application better? Because currently they are struggling with the
So
UI
sorry,
and they are
so Kanya,
struggling with the
in the positive time, I'll just be quick on this. So the type of problem
yeah,
statement, right? Just clarifying what are the types of
yeah.
problem statement that we work in. So we call it that we work on tier one or top tier problem statements, where we don't want to say if the problem statement is improving teacher training in a state, right? Or improving quality of farmer advisory in the state are not the kind of problem statements that we work on, because our larger goal is impact at scale and transformational impact in improving quality of lives. We pick problem statements like improving learning level outcome, which will happen when 20 other things behind the scene happen, right? So we don't particularly pick one kind of activity that this is what we learn. That's not the kind of problem statements that we pick by design. So that's a very strict criteria on the kind of problem statements. It has to be impact at scale. It has to move the needle on a certain outcome. And it's not just that we want to execute teacher training, right? We want to improve this teacher attendance portal. That's not the kind of problem statements that Samagra works on. Yeah.
Just Karan, you can go ahead with the next question. Hello,
Yeah,
just
hello.
Karan. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I have 7 years of experience working in the industry, and I have 4 degrees which I have done or I'm pursuing. The minute I put those on my resume, it itself, encompasses one page and more than one page, and after that, I have to add some skills or certifications or something
Again,
relevant to get
Jaskaran, I would say I would leave it to your creativity. The constraint
You,
is a hard one.
the
So
yeah,
resume.
that
Resume. I tried to condense it down to 2 pages. So I'm saying that like.
I
we are
understand
just
this,
saying
Karan, but
we hear you, but it is a hard constraint nevertheless. There are people very tenured in their careers who also end up creating one-page
yeah,
resumes. So I'll leave it to your creativity. Would not be able to
yes,
problem solve on this. Right.
yeah,
Okay, thank
and you can connect with us offline on LinkedIn to discuss more.
Yeah.
Satvik, why don't you go ahead with the question?
Thanks, Jaskaran, Satvik. Yeah.
Satvik, yeah,
Hi, am I audible?
Yes,
yes.
Satvik, you are. Yeah.
Yeah, so basically, my question was just that we've been hearing that a lot of uh, impact-based consulting firms such as Samagra Satva are somewhat struggling with projects. I mean, although we know that a lot of money and a lot of focus is getting drawn towards, um, say, carbon neutrality for an example of sorts. So, what is the climate like actually? Because obviously hearing it externally is one thing, and then being in that and how uh,
Since
seeing
Satvik,
how it's being
yeah,
transformed is
yeah.
one thing. So just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
So overall, we are at a scale of say we want to at this point do 10 to 15 programs and have a 100 to 125 member team size. That's the scale that we are at, and we would want to stay with it for another 1 or 2 years. So we are doing well. We are stable in that sense. So there's at a macro level, all that I can say is there is no such macro issue that we are facing, and we are not wanting to scale to 2x, 3x in the next 1 year. That's not the ambition that we have, because whatever we do, we want to create impact is a big thing. We double clicked on growth 2 years back. Now we are in the phase of consolidation. So we have chosen to be in the stage of consolidation. And that's very intentional to make sure that we are creating impact meaningfully in whatever we pick up. We don't want to scale without, we don't want to compromise on quality by double clicking on scale abruptly. So that's that all that I can say. So there's no macro issue in as far as Samagra is concerned in that sense.
But this question is not just for Samagra, but it's
Okay.
also for you, particularly pointed at you, like how your experience has been with it.
Okay, that's a longer question. Skip it, please. Let's feel free to kind of discuss separately. I will not take time of the full group here, but yeah, happy to share separately, Satvik.
Sure, thank
And
you.
there are multiple others in Samagra. Just feel free to ping anyone and get a sense of how their experience have been.
Yeah,
Multiple types of tenures that you would see. So just feel free to get in touch.
yeah, we
Venkatesh,
have
quick
shared our.
question. How much time do we have? Like, how many more questions can we
So
take?
I think we can take two couple of more questions, and then
And
we can call. Yeah.
can you also share like how should people reach out if they have like I'm
Yes.
sure there's a lot of unaddressed questions that people have.
Yeah,
So
yeah. So that's what we've done, folks. If you look at the chat, we have put all five of our LinkedIn profiles. You can just add us as a connection, and we'll be more than happy to take up on the chat your questions, queries that you might have. Because a lot of specific questions related to profile we cannot address on the larger calls here, right? I think we
Um,
can take. Yeah.
Also,
Yes,
just one
Shifali.
more thing. I would request all of you to focus more on round one and round two as you're sort of, applying to us. For any kind of a detailed understanding of the firm, you will have an opportunity to do that once you reach round three, because that will be a one-on-one conversation with the interviewer, and there'll be ample time to ask lots of detailed questions at that point of time. So do not worry so much about that. Once you reach round three, you will have time to connect with us at much more depth at round four as well. So try to focus more on really understanding how to make sure that round one and round two process is very clear to you. And yes, and that would be sort of,
Yeah.
that will guide you in the right direction.
Yeah, I think there's one question which has come, I think, 4, 5 times in the chat. So let me address that. So what is where do we work out of, right? So our headquarters is based out of Delhi. That's where our HQ is, right? So the CEO's office, the design team, all of that is stationed out of there. But because we work out of program locations, which essentially become most of the time become the capital city of the state we are working in. For example, when you're working with UP, it's Lucknow. If it is Bhubaneswar, that it's Bhubaneswar. When it is Odisha, right? So therefore, you get to work out of those program locations. We have complete, fully furnished apartment style, bachelor type guest houses that are, taken care of by Samagra. So all the Samagra team members who are staffed to a particular location. For example, if you're stationed out of Lucknow, there's a guest house where all the 4, 5 team members will be living, right? You will have a cook, you will have all grocery support, all of that by Samagra, and therefore a very functional comfort kind of a lifestyle you can have there, and that is where you work out of. You mostly work out of the department out of which the program is located. For example, the NIPUN Bharat program, it will be out of the Department of Basic Education in government of UP. So that is where you work out of. You have guest houses. So I hope that clears it out, right? And there's travel involved, right? The kind of travel that is involved would be between the Delhi office and your program location. So for example, if you're stationed out of Lucknow, between Lucknow and Delhi, there might be once or twice minimum travel that you will do in a month, right? Apart from that, there'll be some frequent once or twice a month travel to district locations. So within the state, because you might have to go to meet stakeholders, beneficiaries, district magistrates, and so on and so forth, right? So therefore, it is going to be rigorous. It is going to be a lot of travel. It is going to be out of tier 2 cities in most likelihood. So when you apply, please make sure that you have all these things in mind, right? You're not going to be working out of ivory towers. You're not going to be working out of Delhi, Bangalore, Mumbai, right? You're going to be working out of places where the action is for the governance, right? So that's something you should be aware of, right?
One other
So
overarching question that I saw, that if you get selected, the expectation is that you would be able to join us from 1st of April. So if you can't, then that's also a clear condition. If you're pursuing your master's right now, then this is not the right drive for you. So make sure that you're available to join us by 1st April. Yeah. Yeah. Do we have more time, Venkatesh, or we wrap up now? I think I can't hear.
Yeah, I think Venkatesh is frozen.
Yeah.
Two more things in general, what people are asking. So one, compensation details. Again, we are not going to share this on. Sorry, Venki, are you back?
I am here. Yeah.
So sorry, I was just talking about anything related to compensation that will be sort of discussed or shared once you have through all the rounds, and that's when you will get to know what the compensation looks like. But feel free to reach out to your friends or buddies or whoever if that helps in any case. There was one more question that I was looking at,
I
but
think
Venki,
there
go
is a
ahead.
question. Yeah, there is one question that people have, I think, asked about the mode of interview. The round 3, or the first interview will happen online itself, but the last round of interview and the offer round for the people who are staying in NCR region will be out of our Delhi office. For others who are not in NCR region, it can happen online. So that's how we're gonna do it.
Also, Venki, if you can address the freshers drive once again, because I see a lot of questions around that.
Yes. So I think that there are a lot of people with less than 18 months of experience who want to apply, folks. We are going to have another drive starting from around 15 February and panning across March, which will be only for freshers and less than 18 months of experience, so to say, right? So if you are not able to apply here, please do apply there. Right, so that's and if you are on the border, you have 17 years, few days experience, you can take a chance. Now it's completely okay. If you don't get selected, you can anyway apply in the next round also. That's completely fine. Because then those questions keep on flooding our thing. So I'm just addressing that. Kar do apply, it doesn't matter. If you don't get selected, you have the next right to again apply if you're less than 18 months of experience. Okay, so I hope most of the questions got addressed. There were, I think, a lot of questions still. So we are available on LinkedIn. You can reach out to us, and more than happy to address those questions. And thank you so much, everyone, for being here. And looking forward to a lot of applications coming our way and a lot of you joining us in the coming months.
Thanks, everyone. All the very best. Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. All the
Thank you.
best.
Yes, thank you.